Tilta just announced the Khronos system for the 17 Pro models and you can already pre-order it, but I want to give you from experience all the infos I have and everything I know, so you can decide for yourself whether or not you want to pre-order it. And also I want to do this video because on YouTube I looked for quite a bit of information myself, and you can basically only find unboxings and first impressions and stuff like this, and no real video that actually tells you some of the negatives and quirks and all sorts of stuff. So take that for what it's worth. Also, I used iPhones professionally for clients, weddings, all sorts of stuff, even television videos over the last year or so professionally, and for the last few months 95% of everything I shot was just iPhone. Only a few projects were on my cinema camera. So without wasting any more time, let's start. And I want to start with the most interesting part, which is the Khronos PD Handle as they call it, and there are quite a few things you need to know. First of all, it has one wheel which is for focus and zoom at the same time, but you can switch back and forth with what you want with the function button. And then you have a record button. And actually one of the first negatives is if you have it on focus and you touch it just ever so slightly, which is kind of easy for me with big hands, then it turns off the autofocus and goes into manual, which is normally a really positive thing, because that way you can very smoothly go from autofocus to manual. But there is no really great way to go back into autofocus without touching the screen, which you need to do with your thumb on the screen when you have both handles in your hand. So that can quite ruin a shot if you accidentally switch it to a manual focus without noticing it. But there's a workaround. I always put it into the zoom function, so I can never accidentally put it in manual focus unless I really want to. And with the zoom, I never really have the problem that I accidentally zoom, because also, yeah, if it's all the way at 1x, you don't accidentally can zoom in both directions, if you know what I mean. But enough about this. Now, one of the negatives about this is that this USB-C port is only for charging, so you cannot connect any USB-C accessories on this port. And another negative about this is the USB-C cable that is in here that you use to connect to the phone inside of the cage, and that gets hidden between the phone and the PD handle, actually does not work without the cage. So if you ever just think, oh, I am low on battery, I want to throw the handle onto some phone to charge it, or maybe a light or a microphone or something, this does not give power unless the connectors are actually connected to the cage and the cable to the phone. They have some kind of circle that it detects as soon as you disconnect the handle, even if the cable is still inside of the phone that just was charged, it instantly cuts power. I don't know if they do it to fight with the competition, because actually, for example, I use the black version of the handle also on my self-made rig with the Moment Super Cage. But here, like I said, it doesn't charge, so the USB-C cable is just hidden inside, which just turns this into a shutter button and a focus or zoom wheel. But the negative also has a slight positive, because that way this basically never runs out of battery, because the shutter button takes almost no battery at all. So if you don't use it to charge anything, this is basically just an infinite amount of battery shutter button. So that's kind of a positive and a negative. I think it kind of sucks that they did limit it like this. They should definitely give us some type of update with the new one, or software update or something, so we can use it however we want. I read online and stuff that some people say maybe they want to get around some power bank regulations, because that way it's technically not classified as a power bank by law or something. I don't know, maybe it has to do with airports or airplanes, but that's enough about this. And one thing to note is also the 3.5mm jack you can use to connect microphones also only works if you don't have the hub connected. If you do have the hub connected, you need to use the mic port on the hub itself. So that's also something people don't know and get quite confused. Which also the next point, if you connect the hub, then you connect the cable from the PD handle to the PD power board, and then you have this phone port which you use to connect with another cable to the phone. So actually it switches it around. That gets around the problem, for example, with the USB-C port not working. And yeah, that's just how that works, which also means you only have 2 USB-C ports left when everything is connected, because like I said, phone and handle, so dual left, plus a HDMI port and the mic port. So no headphone jack. And one slight negative is that the two USB-C ports are so close together. So if you want to use one of those Bluetooth microphone adapters for USB-C, it might block the other one. But you can of course use the adapter and stuff. But yeah, that's just, I wish it was more on the other side, because the HDMI cable will never be as big. So yeah, but that's just a really slight negative or something. And also underneath you can mount it to whatever tripod or even the array rotating pins. And one funny thing is that the same as the Moment Super Cage, this goes just into the, how do you say, Arca Swiss big design, for example, tripod without any blade, which is awesome, so you cannot forget your blade. But it's kind of strange. For example, the Moment Super Cage locks into the big design tripod perfectly, but this is actually like, I don't know, 0.5 millimeter or something too small. So even if you lock the tripod to the max, you can still pull this out if you put a little bit of force into it, which is kind of, I don't know how that happened or something, but that's also maybe just interesting to know. I think it will never fall out by itself, unless maybe you have it on some crazy rig with friction arm or something while you drive, or I don't know, something crazy. But other than that, it's just a interesting thing to know. Then one of the, or only two of the whole accessories are actually powered by the cage, because the main selling point of the cage is that it has all these mounting boards with the Tilta system with power delivery. But the funny thing is, first you think, wow, it's amazing, you can mount everything around the cage and everything has power, but actually there are only two accessories, as far as I know, that can even take power. So one is the light and one is the cooling system. And also, interesting enough, the cooling system works without the cage, so you can just connect it via MagSafe. But if you connect it via MagSafe, then you obviously need a USB-C cable, because this has no internal battery. So either you use it with the system or without. But yeah, just know that. Also, if you connect the cooling system to a charger or something, then you can turn power delivery on, so it basically becomes a wireless charger. So yeah, that's quite interesting. The light is kind of cute. It's definitely useful for filming interviews and stuff at events, where just getting the shot in half decent light is the main thing. But for anything cinematic and stuff like this, it's obviously useless. A few more things that maybe are interesting is the card holder is actually no longer a card holder. Now it's just sort of a multi-tool, which actually is a screwdriver on one side. So that's kind of nice. It has a package opener on the other side, if you can see it here. By the way, also recording this with iPhone. And it has a system for your finger. But yeah, I think most people will never use this, but it's kind of nice to just have a very thin screwdriver and package opener, I guess. And yeah, so much to that. Which also, one more thing, they not only changed the card holder to this with the 16 Pro model, they also changed that you no longer need screws. A lot of people criticize the Khronos system is annoying because you need the screws. Now it's only a locking system, and yeah, one click and it's open, and another click and it's back inside, and then you just close it again, and then it's done. So that's really nice that they changed that. They also changed it slightly on the new one. Maybe I will throw up a picture or something. And now, for the stuff that is actually included in the Ultimate Kit, we obviously have the earlier mentioned SSD holder that is actually missing on the 17 Pro Ultimate Kit. So they removed it, maybe because of the 2 TB version or something, but as we know, for ProRes RAW we need it. So not quite sure about that. But that's also very interesting to know. Compare the 16 and 17 Pro Ultimate Kits. Then one more thing that is included is obviously this handle, which is nice, feels nice, and has a good quality, but it has no other rigging abilities. So it's just a wooden handle, kind of boring in that case, but very nice. And then one more thing that is connected is the filter tray. That will change with the 17 Pro, because they finally switched from a proprietary system to this kind of like you know from the newer or small rig cages and cases with 75 millimeter, so that's a positive. Obviously it's kind of a negative because your old filters, if you have older systems, no longer work. So you can just drop them inside magnetically, and yeah, that's very nice. But like I said, will no longer work with the new one. Then here I have a 17 millimeter adapter for all the different lenses. I recommend only 17 millimeter because it's the most universal and in my opinion has the best options, but you need to buy this separately. Then another thing, or maybe I put it together and then I show you a few more things. So first you take your phone and the cable that comes with the USB-C hub, and by the way, here you can see the iPhone that is recording this video. Then you connect the cable. Now you take the PD handle and you put it on top of the cable and you lock it. So now you have your rig with two cables sticking out. You can put it down and now you can take the USB-C hub and you can either first mount it or mount it afterwards. I will do it before. So you mount it here to this middle one and you just push it on and you lock it. Now you take the longer cable, which is the one connected to the phone, you put it into the phone slot. Then you take the other one that is from the power handle and you put it here into the PD power. And now everything is connected, and as you can see, now two cables are sticking out. So you go from 0 cables that are visible to 2 if you connect the hub. One important thing to note is that the cable from the power handle is so short that you have no real other options, because if you disconnect here, you see you have no room to, for example, mount it on the top for vertical shooting or something like this. So it's quite, the short cable makes it quite complicated to find all the different rigging solutions. And also if you look closely on a lot of their marketing material, for example, they use it in vertical mode and stuff, and then a lot of times there's just a cable missing. So technically they just use it without the power function half the time. And yeah, I find the marketing pictures quite interesting anyways, which I will get more into in 1 second. So now, for example, we can take the ND filter or the 17 millimeter one, and then we connect it here where the lenses are. We push it inside. And now one thing that most people are kind of questioning is that if you close it, you can actually lock it. So now it doesn't open by accident. So if you use heavy lenses and you record, for example, top down, this will not just open by itself. So actually it has a locking mechanism. That's one thing people always ask. Now, as you can see, we already have quite a bit of space taken up. We have the power handle on this side. We have the USB-C hub, which we can't really move because of the cable situation. We could move it here, one instead of here in the middle to this one, but then also the cable is not long enough. So we have 2 left here and 2 left here. And I will show you, for example, if you now use the light and you put it here, which is also only mounting in this direction. You cannot mount the light the other way, but what you can do is you can actually turn it like this, so you can also use it with the front-facing camera, which is quite nice, since the 17 has finally the biggest front-facing camera update ever, probably. And it also tilts a little bit like this, but not very much. Now, we have disconnected. Now we have 3 more, you would say. So now we can, for example, take the SSD holder. And one thing to know, if you mount it like this, you cannot open it. So you have to mount it the other way, which I found is the best way. And now you can actually use the SSD no matter what size. And yeah, it goes all the way. Now we have 2 more, and this brings me to the first issue, because if we mount the last accessory that comes with the Ultimate Kit, and for example we put it here, now everything is basically connected that comes with the Ultimate Kit, besides the cooling, which we just put the right way. The multi-tool kind of thing comes with the kit, but is no longer useful as soon as we have the cooling system connected. But now the main issue is, which is kind of funny also, again, look at their marketing material and all the photos and stuff. Where do they expect you to put the microphone? Because here you have one more space, but most of the things that you mount here are too big to do anything. So for example, if you buy this separately, it's a cold shoe adapter, which is obviously perfect for microphones, and you can put it here. Now you can already see the problem. You are quite limited in the space you have, and I will show you in 1 second. So here we have, for example, the Rode Go Duo, which is probably the best microphone for smartphones because it's amazing with USB-C and the 3.5, and also you can change the settings with the app and all these kinds of stuff. But you see already the problem. If you kind of force it in, then it kind of works, but the handle is kind of useless. And if you switch it the other way around, you can already see it's kind of difficult with space. But like this, basically, the rig is usable. You have the power bank as the handle, you have a light, you have the SSD holder, you have the filter mount or the lens mount, and you have a microphone. And here you can connect, for example, the microphone, and you can connect the SSD, which you need to route the cable through. So, but I think it's kind of not the best option. And also a lot of people ask what else you can mount. Basically you can mount whatever you want, so this is totally not a negative, because you can also get the universal adapter, so anything basically you can mount with, even also with RA locating pins. But the best solution I found is this mount that they actually advertise for the Khronos focus system, which I think you don't really need because you have the focus wheel here if you really need. But now if we take off this one, we can connect the handle here. By the way, it has a button, so you can rotate however you prefer. It locks in this position, and in the opposite one, it doesn't lock downwards, if that matters to you. And now what we can do, because this is a NATO one, we can take any universal NATO adapter, like this one, for example, and now we can just slide it on and lock it wherever we want. We can even use two, but then it's kind of very little space. So if you have a smaller one, technically you could use two, but I think it's not really usable. Instead, I like to use this one, which is just by coincidence also from Tilta, but there are many different brands, and it has a mounting thing on each side. So this way, for example, you can mount the microphone right here, for example. And you could also mount a stronger light like Aperture MC or something on top. You can use a friction arm, you can do whatever you need. Or you can also, for example, use it to put the DJI mic or something adapter here. So now you have all the accessibility you basically need to actually turn this into a more professional rig. And one thing I, for example, like to add to my rigs, which is this XLR audio setup that I have going on here, which I will explain in a separate video because this is a very complicated topic. But actually once it's complete, it's very simple. You can just connect any XLR input here. For example, I use it a lot in the television interviews that I film with the Sennheiser wireless mics that have this XLR adapter. Or I use it at events or weddings or something. If I want to film a speech and I need the audio of the microphone, I can just go to the DJ or the audio people and ask for XLR cable. Then you can here open the clamp, and then you can just adjust it however you want, depending on the cable or whatever. And so that's one thing. So I need a place to mount a clamp a lot of times if I'm at events and stuff. And now I can mount the clamp here, for example, with the screw. And also one more thing that it also allows you is to connect whatever you want here. So you can actually use a screen. For example, you can use this tiny small rig screen. That is quite nice. I will also make a video about this one. You could technically go completely crazy and mount the whole iPad as a screen, or you can use whatever professional monitor you have with the HDMI port. So that's another thing to consider, but I think this is the best thing. And it's kind of strange how in the advertising they don't really explain how to put all of this, because if you really pay attention, like I said, to the marketing material, they always just show the system with maybe the light, the ND filter and the handle, or sometimes they show it in the full setup but without the cables, which makes no sense, and all these kinds of stuff. But overall, I don't know if this video sounded too critical or negative. I think it's an awesome system, and if I didn't say it already, it's a very smart move if you want to keep your old phone as a B or C cam or something, or the behind the scenes cam, to now get the Khronos Ultimate Kit for very cheap, because all the retailers are trying to get rid of it, because obviously they want to get stock of the new one and then nobody will buy the old one anymore. So now is your chance if you want to get the old system, and we all know it has the same 24mm lens, so nobody will see the difference in quality. And I think that's, for now, almost all the infos. Just one more tip, I would say, and that is that they make a universal adapter, which I used here. If you see, this is the Tilta universal adapter that just connects to anything, also has RA locating pins, and that way you can connect the PD handle, for example, or if you don't want to buy it one more time since you already own it, you can use the SSD holder, or you can use this one if you want to, for example, also buy the focus wheel from Tilta, or just use it like this, whatever you want. So that opens up quite a possibility to mount Tilta Khronos stuff on whatever rig you want. Obviously, like I said, keep in mind the limitations of the PD handle, but obviously the light, for example, you cannot use because it doesn't have a USB-C port. It's actually just powered through the cage. So that one becomes useless without the cage. But like I said, it's quite nice, and there are maybe a few more things, but make sure you ask any questions down below. Once I will get my hands on the 17 Pro one, I will definitely make a review about it. Maybe I will make a video showcasing it in action or something. And subscribe for more and check out the links in the description.